Good morning, students. Today we'll start with the nucleophilic substitution reactions, their stereochemical aspects. So before we deal with the stereochemical aspects of nucleophilic substitution reactions, we should know what is stereochemistry. So stereochemistry is a three-dimensional arrangement of molecules in space, and you should understand some of the concepts related to that of stereochemical principles, and they are optical activity, chirality, retention, inversion, racemization, etc. You should be very clear with these terms related to stereochemical principles. So to begin with, I would like to say I have already stated that an SN2 reaction proceeds with complete stereochemical inversion. There I said we get inverted configuration products in SN2 mechanism. Why? An SN1 reaction proceeds via racemization. That is, the products that are formed here are racemic mixture products there. That was what I dealt with. Then let us look at the terms related to that of stereochemical principles, and the terms are, firstly we'll see plane polarized light and optical activity. You should be very clear with this optical activity term. So optical activity, they are optical isomers. First, let me tell you how a plane polarized light is generated. When we pass an ordinary white light through that of Nicol prism, on passing ordinary light through Nicol prism, certain compounds rotate the plane polarized light, and when it is passed through their solutions, and such compounds are called optically active compounds. And the angle by which the plane polarized light is rotated is measured by an instrument called as polarimeter. So if the plane polarized light rotates the compound towards right, it is called as dextrorotatory compound. The word has come from the Greek, that is dextro, and dextro means right. So if the plane polarized light rotates the compounds towards right, it is called dextrorotatory or the D form, and is indicated by placing a positive charge sign before the degree of rotation. And if the light is rotated towards left, right is clockwise direction and left is anti-clockwise direction, the compound is said to be levorotatory compounds, or it is represented by L form with a negative sign before the degree of rotation. So such plus and minus isomers of the compound are called optical isomers, and the phenomena is called as optical isomerism. So I'm showing you here the explanation there for optical isomers. When a plane polarized light is in a position to rotate the light towards right, that is this way, this is clockwise direction, then it is called as dextrorotatory compounds. Dextrorotatory. So dextro, and it's represented by plus form. Dextro has come from the Greek word that is right, that means right. And if the plane polarized light is in a position to rotate the compounds towards left, that is anti-clockwise direction, it is called as levorotatory compounds. Levo has come from, again, the Greek word meaning left. This is left and this means right. So L for L, remember in your mind, L for L. L is levo, means the compound is rotated towards left, and it is represented by minus sign there before the rotation. Now a mixture of plus and minus isomers together are called as optical isomers. This is called as optical isomers. And the phenomena is called as optical isomerism. I hope you understood this. And a plane polarized light is generated when an ordinary light is passed through that of Nicol prism there. It results in generation of plane polarized light, and mixture of plus and minus isomers together are called as optical isomerism. Then the terms which you should know are molecular asymmetry, chirality, and enantiomers. So let me explain you about molecular asymmetry. Asymmetric carbon atom, which compound is called as asymmetry. So symmetric means which can be divided into two equal halves. And asymmetric carbon, if I say carbon having 4 different groups on it. Suppose I write this compound. So if I write this compound, since this carbon is having 4 different groups attached on it, H, Cl, OH and CH3. Since this compound is having 4 different groups that are attached to it, this carbon is an asymmetric carbon atom, and usually asymmetric carbon atoms are chiral in nature. They have the property of, they show the property of chirality. So what is a chiral object? Chiral objects are non-superimposable mirror images. Non-superimposable mirror images are called as chiral objects, and superimposable mirror images are called as achiral objects. This is chiral. Asymmetric carbon atom. This is carbon is asymmetric in nature. Asymmetric. Carbon is asymmetric in nature, and the carbon that is asymmetric in nature will be also chiral in nature. What do you understand by chirality? Non-superimposable mirror images. For example, if I look into my left hand, it looks as if it is your right hand there. So they are non-superimposable mirror images. They cannot be superimposed as they are. So non-superimposable mirror images are called as chiral objects, and those that get superimposed. Suppose I see the circle in a mirror. This will be superimposed as it is in the mirror. Okay, so those that are superimposable on one another are called as achiral objects. So I'm writing here achiral, or you can also write non-chiral objects. I hope this part was clear for you. So we'll be dealing with this molecular asymmetry, chirality, and enantiomers. So here you see asymmetric carbon atom. Central carbon is tetrahedral, and if all the substituents attached to that carbon are different, such a carbon is called asymmetric carbon, or it's also called as stereocenter. And the resulting molecule would lack symmetry and is referred to as asymmetric molecule. And the asymmetry of the molecule is responsible for the optical activity in such organic compounds. Hope this part is clear. So here I was explaining you about chiral objects. You see, if I look at my left hand in the mirror, it looks as if it is your right hand. And if you look at your left foot, it looks as if it is your right foot. So they are chiral objects. Chiral objects are non-superimposable mirror images. That means that cannot be superimposed on its mirror image. An object which cannot be superimposed on its mirror images are called as chiral objects. And those which can be superimposed, superimposable mirror images, are called as non-chiral or achiral objects. For example, you see this glass. If this glass, if I see in the mirror, it looks as if it is a glass and it is getting superimposed. Here you see the circle, it looks as if it is a circle, it is getting superimposed. So superimposable mirror images are non-chiral objects there. I give you an example for that of a chemical compound, two chemical compounds. I'll explain you with the help of it, and we can know whether that carbon is asymmetric and whether it is chiral in nature or not. We can find out. I take two examples there. One is propane 2-ol and the second one is butane 2-ol there. So I'll show you here on the board. See, propane 2-ol. If I write the structure of propane 2-ol, I'll also show its mirror image, the diagram. Propane 2-ol, 1, 2, 3 carbon atoms, and this is propane 2-ol, CH3, H, CH3. This is propane 2-ol. Now you see this, find out whether this carbon is asymmetric in nature or not. If the carbon that is present, the stereo center, if it is having 4 different groups on it, here you see this is one group, this is another group, but 2 CH3 groups are same here. So since both the groups are same here, the molecule, this carbon is not asymmetric in nature. So this compound is achiral in nature or non-chiral in nature because of the absence of asymmetric carbon. This carbon is not asymmetric in nature, and that's why it is achiral in nature. I take the second example. This is propane 2-ol. I had taken the example. Propane 2-ol. Now, if I take the second example, that is of butane 2-ol. So butane 2-ol, see, I'm rubbing this and I'm drawing the structure of butane 2-ol. And I show that that molecule is chiral in nature. Butane 2-ol is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is ol, CH3, this is H, this is CH2, and this is CH3. This is an example of butane 2-ol. Okay. Now check the asymmetric carbon atom, whether this stereo center, whether it is asymmetric in nature or not. So this is H, one group that is attached. CH3 is the second group that is attached. CH2, CH3 is the third group that is attached, and OH is the fourth group that is attached there. So since it is having 4 different groups on it, this carbon is asymmetric in nature. And since this carbon is asymmetric in nature, the molecule is chiral in nature. It is chiral. It shows chirality. Molecule is chiral in nature. I hope you have understood. I'll show you in this figure there. So look at this figure. Yes, see this figure. This is of propane 2-ol. Okay, it is having OH group, CH3, CH3, H. So you see, this carbon, if I look into the mirror image, this is the mirror image which I get, and C is the superimposable, C is superimposable on its mirror image A. If I rotate the compound B by 180 degree, first you see this is A, this is propane 2-ol. Okay, if I look into the mirror image, I get this mirror image, that is B, and this C is obtained by rotating B by 180 degree. If I rotate this compound by 180 degree, I get this C. This C is superimposable on A. You can see here, CH3 gets superimposed on the CH3. This CH3 gets superimposed on the CH3. H gets superimposed on this H, and OH gets superimposed on this OH. So since it is getting superimposed, C is getting superimposed on A, this molecule is an achiral molecule there. So propane 2-ol is achiral in nature. I have shown you through this diagram. Now look at the butane 2-ol. Butane 2-ol, as I have already explained, it contains 4 different groups on it: CH3, C2H5, H, and OH. If I rotate, no, first I'll be seeing this mirror image D, the mirror image is E, and if I rotate this E by 180 degree, I get F. Correct? Now look at whether it is getting superimposed on one another or not. F getting superimposed on D. Is it C2H5? It is CH3 here. Here you see CH3, it is C2H5 here. H and OH, it's okay. But C2H5 and CH3 are not getting superimposed on one another. They are non-superimposable on one another. F is non-superimposable on its mirror image D. And that's why this molecule is chiral in nature. You can take some other examples of chiral molecules: 2-chlorobutane, 2,3-dihydroxypropanol, bromochloroiodomethane, 2-bromopropanoic acid, etc. You can take the other examples also. Next, you will learn this definition of enantiomers, and this is the definition you will be writing. That is, the stereoisomers related to each other as non-superimposable mirror images are called enantiomers. So you will learn this definition, that is, the stereoisomers related to one another as non-superimposable mirror images are called enantiomers. And how do the enantiomers differ from one another? Usually enantiomers possess identical physical properties. Melting point, if you see, they are same. Boiling point, solubility, refractive index, etc. all are same. Then how do they differ from one another? They differ with respect to the rotation of plane polarized light. If one of the isomer, enantiomer, is rotating the light towards right, that is dextrorotatory, the other will rotate the light towards left, that is levorotatory. So they differ from one another in the rotation of plane polarized light. One of the enantiomer is dextrorotatory, whereas the other is levorotatory there. Hope you have understood. So enantiomers are stereoisomers related to one another as non-superimposable mirror images are called as enantiomers. It's a board question. The question had come, define enantiomers under 1 mark, and how do they differ from one another? They differ from one another with respect to the rotation of plane polarized light. Next you see a mixture containing 2 enantiomers in equal proportions will have 0 optical rotation. Why? Because the rotation due to one isomer will be cancelled by the rotation due to the other isomer there, and such a mixture is called as racemic mixture or racemic modification there. So a racemic mixture is represented by prefixing DL or plus minus before the name. For example, plus minus butane 2-ol, and the process of conversion of enantiomer into a racemic mixture is known as racemization. The process is known as racemization. So I hope now you have understood the term racemization. Here, there I said SN1 mechanism proceeds via the formation of racemic mixtures. So what is a racemic mixture? Mixture of containing 2 enantiomers in equal proportions. It has 0 optical rotation and it cancels the rotation of one with that of other, and that mixture is known as racemic mixture and is represented by DL or plus minus. And the process of conversion of enantiomer into a racemic mixture is known as racemization process there. So SN1 mechanism proceeds via the process of racemization. Now look at the question. Just now I had told you about chiral and achiral molecules. I said carbon having 4 different types of groups on it, that is a stereo center is present there. That molecule which is having an asymmetric carbon atom is called as chiral molecule, and which doesn't contain that will come under achiral or non-chiral category there. So look at these 2 compounds. The first question, 2 compounds are given and you need to identify chiral and achiral molecules in each of the following pairs of compounds. So here you see, this is your stereo carbon, stereo center of the carbon. H is present one group, CH3 is present the second group, Br is present the third group, and OH is present the fourth group. So since 4 different groups are present here, this first compound is chiral in nature. Look at this compound. This is carbon, and since it is having 2 Br groups on the same carbon atom, this is achiral in nature there. So this molecule is achiral and the first one is chiral. Look at the second part of the question. Here, this is the stereo center. We'll be taking carbon, this kink. You can see the cursor where I have put this cursor, carbon. OH is present as one group, H is present as the second group, CH3 is present as the third group, and CH2, CH3 is present as the fourth group. So since there are 4 different groups on it, this carbon, the first one is your chiral molecule. And look at this. This is your stereo center, carbon will be taking, and this is H and this is OH, 2 groups, and here CH2, CH3, here also CH2, CH3. Since 2 same groups are present, this molecule is achiral in nature. Hope you have understood. Look at the third part of the question. Here you see C carbon, this is the stereo center we'll be taking. H is attached here, and that is one group. CH2, CH3 is attached on the right side. CH3 is attached on the left side, and Br is attached on the downside there. So 4 different groups are there. So this first one again is your chiral molecule. Look at this third part of the question, second pair which is given. Here you see this carbon we are taking as to judge whether it is chiral molecule or not. So since 2 hydrogens are present on the same carbon atom, 2 same groups again, so this becomes achiral in nature there. So hope you have understood how to solve it. So that is how you will solve. Next, I come to the next part, and it is retention of configuration. So you should know what is retention of configuration. Retention of configuration is actually the preservation of integrity of the spatial arrangement of bonds to an asymmetric center during a chemical reaction or transformation. So you see here the A, B, and C. No bond to the stereo center is broken here. Okay. The product will have the same general configuration of groups around the stereo center there as that of the reactant. So you see A and A are same, B and B are having the same position, and C and C are having the same position. Only X is getting replaced with that of Y. X getting replaced with that of Y, and such a reaction is said to proceed with retention of the configuration there. You can see the example. This is 2-methyl butane 1-ol. When treated with HCl and it is heated here, you see the stereo center, no bond in the stereo center have been broken. H is there where is it is, CH3 is present where it is, CH2 is present where it is, CH2, CH3 is present where it is. Only OH is being replaced with that of Cl there. So OH getting replaced with that of Cl, such a reaction is said to proceed with retention of the configuration. Only X gets replaced with that of Y. So here OH is getting replaced with that of Cl and H2O is removed out. So such type of reactions proceed via retention of configuration there. Hope you have understood. Now look at this figure. This figure shows very beautifully inversion, retention and racemization process there. So here you see C2H5 is present here, C2H5, H, CH3, CH3. Only X is getting replaced with that of Y and A is formed. So it is retention of configuration. Followed? X getting replaced only with that of Y is retention of configuration. And here you see the product B which I get. C2H5 is there, H is here and Y has come on the other side. So X is getting replaced with that of Y, but I'm getting here an inverted configuration. So there the process of inversion of configuration has occurred. And if a 50%, 50 is to 50 mixture of the above two is obtained, then the process is called as racemization. That is half of A and half of B if we get. And the product actually is optically inactive, as one isomer will rotate light in the direction opposite to one another. So the three processes are so beautifully explained here. In the first case, X getting replaced with that of Y is retention of configuration. In the second case, X getting replaced with that of Y, but I get an inverted configuration. The process called inversion of configuration takes place, and 50% A and 50% B if I obtain, then the process is called as racemization process there. Hope it's clear again. Now let us have a fresh look at SN1 and SN2 mechanisms by taking examples of optically active halides there. So time and again I have explained you that SN1 mechanism proceeds via the formation of racemic mixtures, and SN2 mechanism results in inversion of configuration there. So you see, why do we get the inversion of configuration in SN2 mechanism there? So here an example is given. If I take an alkyl halide and treat it with OH minus there, SN2 mechanism has inverted configuration as compared to the reactant, because this nucleophile will attack this electron deficient carbocation or carbonium ion, you can say. This nucleophile OH minus will attack this electron deficient carbocation from the side opposite to that of halide ion. It cannot attack from the same side. It attacks from the side opposite to that of halide ion, and thus OH gets attached on the opposite side to that of the halide, and this halide ion is removed out. So since the nucleophile attacks this electron deficient carbocation from the side opposite to that of halide, it results in giving you inversion of configuration, that is inverted configuration products you will be getting. So this is the mechanism behind SN2 mechanism. So let us see for SN1 case. In case of SN1 reactions, so if I take a 3-degree alkyl halide, in case of SN1 reaction, this reaction proceeds in 2 steps. I have already told you. The first step is the formation of the carbocation, and the second step is the attack of the nucleophile on this electron deficient carbocation. So you can see here, this OH minus can attack this electron deficient carbocation from both the sides. It can attack from left side, it can also attack from right side there. So since this nucleophile can attack this electron deficient carbocation from both the sides, that is front attack as well as back attack, it results in the formation of butane 2-ol and butane 2-ol plus minus isomers there. So that's why SN1 mechanism proceeds via the formation of racemization process. So I have shown you here in the diagram, and hope this part is all very clear to you. And in the next video, we'll be dealing with that of elimination reaction, the second type of chemical reaction, that is the elimination reactions. Till then, thank you children, and have a nice day.